About a week or two ago, someone had asked me, why does it look like I'm reading my work aloud while I'm writing? And I'm noticing a bit more now tonight. I certainly on the videos too, but tonight, I looking back on this now, it's pretty noticeable that you'll see me there kind of rereading over some stuff that I've already written, and then going through reading my work aloud, and then even talking to myself as I'm typing. And the reason for this is I guess like multiple, but one of the main things that I encourage is this idea that you want to always be reading your work out loud, even when you're going through some of your early drafts. The reason why is what you say out loud to yourself is very, very different from what you're putting down on the page. This is obviously true of anyone who's ever had to actually read their work in front of an audience, or anyone who goes through kind of the revision process. One of the things they always tell you is actually stand up and read your work aloud. The reason why is it hits you differently. Your prose just comes to you a little bit differently. It's a lot easier to see the mistakes in it. And for me, that's often what I'm doing is I'm just talking aloud. I see my work and I'm just reading out loud just to hear how it sounds to me, some of my older work. And then what you're also seeing is me talking to myself as I'm typing out new words. And what that is me constructing the sentences in my head and then saying them as I'm typing them out. It's just a kind of a trick that my brain does to something I do, where I like to do that. I like to say the words as I'm printing it out. Part of it is just a revision thing. Obviously, if it doesn't sound quite right, I can go back and type it out. But a lot of the reason is simply I view my work in a lot of ways like kind of I view it in a very sort of cinematic sense. So if I'm typing something out, especially if it's like dialogue, for example, if I'm saying it aloud, it sounds real. It sounds like it's performing. It's actually performing. For me, it's when I'm doing it, it's more vivid. It's simply more real when I say it aloud. It's not just words on the page. It helps me to kind of picture the scene when I say my work aloud. And even if it's not dialogue, it's simply just sentences. If I can say it out loud and it comes out and it sounds well as I'm saying it, I know that it's at least a good sentence to keep. It's at least something that I've written that's worth having. And often I talk about how my work kind of dies at the sentence. It sort of begins and ends there. If I can get a good sentence down, that for me is a win. Every single thing I write, I'm always trying to win at the sentence level. I think for many writers of any skill, beginner up through it, the best thing you can do to improve your work is to try and make your sentences sound correct and concise. Certainly not. I'm very, very guilty of long run-ons, so certainly not always concise. But my sentences say what they are supposed to say. They are clear. When you read them, you know the point I'm trying to convey with them. A lot of bad writing comes from vague sentences, from sentences that aren't doing their job. They're not conveying the exact idea that the writer had in mind to its audience. It's not conveying it well. It's not pulling its weight, really. And so a clear sentence, in a sentence that says exactly what you want to say, that gets your point across correctly, that is really what I think most writers should be aiming for as they're going about, especially their early drafts, is just win at the sentence. It can be as simple of a sentence. It doesn't need to be fancy. The words don't need to be eloquent. The words don't even need. It doesn't even need to be lyrical or sort of kind of flowery. It can be very, very simple and direct. That's fine, as long as the sentences are saying what you want them to say, and as long as they convey your idea, correctly. then you've got a win. And so for me, that's why you'll see me reading aloud. That's why you'll hear me muttering to myself aloud as I'm typing those words out. Perhaps it's just a sign of madness too. Who knows? But yeah, that's why, in case anyone was wondering why I look like kind of a raving madman at times. Especially tonight too. Tonight was a lot of, obviously constructing new stuff for the chapter, but looking at the next chapter that follows it and trying to find a way to connect these things. Trying to find sort of ideas to sort of thread between these chapters, to that way when one ends, the next one's going to be basically picking up right where it left off, and it's going to be a very seamless sort of transition. A lot of the evening is spent right there with my face covered by my mouth, basically reading this thing, trying to figure out where I'm going next. So with that, I'll end it here, and I will see you all tomorrow.